You scroll through Instagram, you see everyone's highlight reel, and something inside you just doesn't want to participate. Not because you're shy. Not because your life isn't interesting. But because something deeper keeps stopping you. And you've probably never been able to fully explain why. Today we're going to do exactly that. And what you're about to hear might make you understand yourself in a way you never have before. Stay with me. Let's start with the experience itself. You're at dinner with friends. The food looks beautiful. Someone pulls out their phone and starts taking pictures. And you just sit there. Maybe you even thought about posting. Maybe you opened the app. But then you closed it. You told yourself the photo wasn't good enough. Or that nobody really cares. Or that it felt weird. But you're not fully sure which one was actually true. This happens at concerts. On vacations. On your birthday. In moments that feel big and meaningful. You live through them completely. But you never share them. And sometimes people ask you, why aren't you on social media? And you don't have a clean answer. That silence, that hesitation, that pull away from posting, it's not random. It's not laziness. It's not even introversion, not entirely. There is a very specific psychological pattern behind it. And once you understand it, a lot of other things about yourself will start to make sense too. Here is the first thing you need to hear. You are not broken. You are not antisocial. You are not behind. What you actually are, is someone whose nervous system learned early on that being seen carries risk. Think about that for a moment. At some point in your life, maybe in childhood, maybe in school, maybe in a relationship, you showed something real about yourself. Something genuine. And the response you got was not safe. Maybe you were laughed at. Maybe you were ignored. Maybe someone used what you shared against you. Maybe you were told you were too much, or not enough. The brain remembered that. And the brain's number one job is not to make you happy. It is to keep you alive. It is to protect you from pain that happened before. So it built a wall. And that wall has a very specific name in psychology. It's called self-concealment. Self-concealment is the tendency to actively hide information about yourself from others, especially information that feels personal or vulnerable. Social media, at its core, is a public invitation to be seen. And for someone with a high self-concealment pattern, that invitation doesn't feel exciting. It feels like standing in the middle of a street with no walls around you. So you close the app. Every single time. Now here is where the neuroscience gets fascinating. There is a part of your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. It processes social pain, the kind of pain you feel when you're rejected, judged, or excluded. Studies show that social pain activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Being criticized online does not just hurt emotionally. To your brain, it registers almost like being physically hit. So when you think about posting something, your brain runs a quick threat simulation. It imagines the possible comments, the silence, the judgment. And before you even open the camera, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires a quiet warning. Not safe. Pull back. Think of it like a smoke detector. A smoke detector doesn't check whether there's an actual fire before going off. It just detects the possibility of heat and screams. Your brain does the same thing with visibility. There is no actual danger in posting a photo. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It only knows what it learned before. And so it protects you the only way it knows how. By keeping you invisible. So what do you actually do with this? Because understanding the pattern is one thing. but you probably want to know what to do next. Here are 4 principles rooted in psychology that can help you work with your brain instead of against it. The first one is this. Separate the experience from the audience. Research in cognitive psychology shows that when we perform for an external audience, even imagined, our internal experience of the moment changes. We stop fully living it and start managing how it looks. People who never post are often, without knowing it, protecting the purity of their own experience. So here is something to try. Before you decide whether to share something, ask yourself, have I fully felt this moment yet? Give yourself permission to live it first. Share it second. Or not at all. When you stop making sharing feel urgent, the pressure around it dissolves. The second principle is this. Understand your identity protection reflex. Psychologists talk about something called self-concept clarity, which is how clearly and consistently you know who you are. People with high self-concept clarity are not deeply threatened by outside opinions, because their internal sense of self is stable. But when self-concept clarity is low, outside judgment feels like a threat to the self, not just to the post. This is why one harsh comment can spiral into days of doubt. It's not about the comment. It's about the fact that your identity felt shaky underneath it. The practice here is simple but not easy. Start building your self-concept off the screen. Write privately. Reflect on your values. Know what you believe and why. The stronger your internal foundation, the less power external judgment holds. The third principle is about what psychologists call the audience of one. Researchers who study human motivation found that when people create or share for an internal reason, for joy, for meaning, for expression, they experience what is called intrinsic motivation. This is deeper, more sustainable, and more psychologically healthy than external validation. Most social media is built for external validation. Likes, comments, follower counts. These are all external rewards. And external rewards, over time, hollow out the original impulse to create. But there is another way to relate to sharing. You can share not to be validated, but to connect. Not to perform, but to give something. When you shift the question from what will people think of this to who might need to hear this, something changes. The fear doesn't fully disappear. But the purpose becomes bigger than the fear. The fourth principle is this. Learn the difference between privacy and hiding. This one is subtle but important. Privacy is a conscious, healthy choice to keep parts of your life for yourself. It's a boundary rooted in self-respect. Hiding is driven by fear. It's avoidance dressed up as preference. Both can look the same from the outside. But they feel completely different on the inside. Privacy feels like peace. Hiding feels like tension. A useful exercise is to sit with the question, when I choose not to share something, does it feel like freedom or does it feel like relief from a threat? Freedom means you made a real choice. Relief from threat means your nervous system made the choice for you. Both are valid starting points. But only one of them is truly yours. Let's bring all of this together. Here is the simple model to remember. Your silence online is not emptiness. It is information. It is telling you something about how you were taught to be seen. About how safe you feel in your own identity. About whether you are living your life or curating it. The people who never post are often the people who feel everything most deeply. They are not detached from life. They are sometimes too attached to it to reduce it to a square image and a caption. That is not a weakness. But it can become a cage, if the silence is driven by fear instead of choice. The goal is not to become someone who posts constantly. The goal is to become someone who could, if they wanted to, without their hands shaking. Before you go, leave a comment below and answer this. Are you someone who never posts, and do you think it's more about privacy or more about fear? I want to know. And I think you might want to know too. There is one last thought I want to leave you with. The version of you that nobody sees online is still real. Still valid. Still worth something. You don't need a platform to have a life worth living. But you do deserve to move through the world without the quiet weight of always hiding. There is a difference between choosing to be private and being afraid to be known. You are allowed to know that difference. And you are allowed, slowly, gently, in your own time, to close the gap between the two.